all these groups are amazing, fantastic ambassadors for seals on their local patch, and we are super grateful that they're all working so hard with an amazing number of awesome volunteers who are giving their time freely to help seals and be ambassadors for seals and conserve them on their patches. We can't thank you enough, and we would be nowhere without all of these groups. We are the sum of our parts, and hopefully that's stronger if we work together. The Seal Alliance is a non-government organisation. It's charitable, and it's all thanks to a guy called Andy Ottaway, who I don't know if he's on the call, but basically he runs a charity called Seal Protection Action Group, and he got in contact with me quite a while back and said, I think we should set up this organisation, will you help? And together we've done it, but we wouldn't have the Seal Alliance if it wasn't for Andy Ottaway, so we need to say a big thank you to him. As I said, we're mostly local community-based seal conservation groups, and we've worked very hard over the last 18 months to come up with lots of shared resources, which I'll take us through very briefly. But there are two take-home messages that I'm probably going to say more than once tonight, and they are that disturbance is always a waste of energy. Sometimes it leads to injuries, and occasionally it can be fatal a few months down the line. And then when we were recently filming for Countryfile, Ellie Harrison, I feel like I need to credit her rather than name drop her, came up with a really fantastic sentence. We worry about calories all the time because as humans we have far too many calories generally, and certainly we've got lots of them available, but in the wild every calorie counts and can make the difference between life and death. So those are the two take-home messages for you, that disturbance does have impacts, and secondly that every calorie counts, and disturbance always wastes calories, so it's not good. We've had a recent, on the 9th of the 9th, we had a SEAL Masterclass, which is our very first one. It would be great to repeat that. And obviously tonight, we've got our very first SharePoint session. I've just noticed that Andy Ottaway has just joined us, so I'm going to whiz back so that Andy actually hopefully gets to hear this and see this, which is, thanks Andy Ottaway. We wouldn't have a SEAL Alliance if it wasn't for you. And we're very grateful to the Seal Protection Action Group for making it possible. So thanks, Andy. I really hope you heard that. Okay, so one of the first things that Seal Alliance did was come up with some shared messaging, which is surprisingly challenging for a leaflet and a sign. The sign is the inside of the leaflet. They're freely available. We can send some out to you if you can. If you can afford to pay for them, that's great. But if you can't, we'd rather that you had some. You just need to email me about them. And the fantastic news is these have also been translated into French. Believe it or not, I have sent over 68,000 leaflets out to north of John O'Groats to south of Land's End and into France. And we've done 99 signs that have been sent around the UK as well. So it's a really fantastic achievement. Thanks to everyone's efforts for making this possible. This is my favourite seal sign photo from Sal Bennett at North Tyneside. Fantastic to be able to see a sign with seals in the background. Really great. So well done, Sal, for that. On the right is a sign in Wales, and with Gareth Richards, who's going to be talking tonight as well, on the Gower. And then this is one of our local water sports centres where the leaflets have also been distributed to. So it's fab to have them as resources. If you didn't know, we've also got a template letter for leisure and recreation and travel and tourism outlets or agencies or organisations, basically anyone who might put information about seal disturbance on their website. Here's the words that you might need for that and some links to resources for it. And finally, just to get the message out there that the Seal Alliance organisations have signed up to this concept of trying to change the culture of seal photos one photo at a time. Classic great photo of a seal is it looking directly at the camera. But of course, if it's looking at the camera, it could have been disturbed, and the chances are it has been. So we're trying to avoid using photos going forward with all our new resources publicly and online to avoid photos of seals looking at the camera. And all our photos are taken with massive zoom lenses. We also try to avoid putting up photos of large numbers of seals just because people always ask where that is and somebody always answers it. And if they want to ask, we're happy to tell them privately, but rather than just putting it out for everyone to see on social media. And then the other thing is we use generic location names. So my site is called West Cornwall as opposed to the actual site name. So the Seal Alliance first working group is on disturbance, and lots of the members are going to present to you tonight. We've had 20 meetings, which is quite a landmark for us, and the future is looking extremely bright. Today, I had a meeting with the Marine Mammal Disturbance Partnership, representing the Seal Research Trust, but also the Seal Alliance, and it is fantastic to get positive listening ears of people who want to make a difference. Watch this space. There might be some big movement on disturbance legislation for seals. How exciting would that be? Okay, I'm going to go straight into, apologies for that, but I'm going to go straight into the Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust presentation. I'm going to talk to you about amazing seals, amazing volunteers, partners, evidence, NGOs, statutory agencies, media, and a case study. So I've got to whiz really quickly. If my slides are going really slowly, Sarah Greenslade, I can see you. Do wave at me or something if something looks like it's going wrong, because I can see you on the camera. So if it's not moving quickly, please tell me. Thanks to all our funders. We couldn't do any of this without our funders. So seals are amazing. 2 seals on this slide, 2 seal calendars, years across the top, months down the side, colours, different locations, and numbers, the number of identifications. The top seal is a male seal. He's called DP2. He's the oldest photo-identified seal I have ever known. He's at least 28 years old and probably more like 37. Really amazing male. He disappeared in 2016, and when he reappeared, he had his first South Coast sighting. All his other sightings have been on the North Coast. We've seen him hardly at all in 2018 and 19, and then he disappeared again in 2020. So I thought the worst. He's only just blooming rocked up again on the North Coast during the pupping season, looking like he's trying to beachmaster. But he's looking for his favourite female, who is the seal at the bottom. And you can see that her visit pattern is completely different. She's our world record breaking mum. She's had 18 pups in 19 years. She missed one in 2018, but in 2021, she's gone and had a pup on the South Coast, whereas all her other pups have been on exactly the same beach every single year, bar the first, which was on the neighbouring beach on the North Coast. So he has come, he mated with her in 2011 and 2015. He's come looking for her, I'm pretty sure of that. And she's only gone and had her pup on the South Coast, and she's not here. So who knew that love stories were so complicated and potentially sad? That's what Photo ID does. It's great. It gives you real seal stories. We're also celebrating the first common or harbour seal pups in South Devon that have happened in the last 3 years. First successful pupping with mums still present, so not needing rescue. And in 2021, we had our first successful harbour seal pup in Cornwall as well. We've got some amazing people in our network. All of these blue dots are Seal Photo ID catalogues that are run by hubs of people, either one person in the hub or a team of people in the hub. So all these amazing volunteers are doing a range of different roles, from surveying to being ambassadors for seals, running events and helping us with that, being digital volunteers, so helping us with data processing, report writing or administration, and sometimes they're helping to fundraise as well. So we have template letters that we've used for the Seal Alliance, which you can see on the top left. We've created template letters for our volunteers to use as well, because what we want to do is give volunteers the resources that they need to take action without us. So if, you know, HQ fell over tomorrow, the volunteers would have the words and the resources that they need and the tone that they need to approach people in order to get the best result for seals. We've got some reports and we make the Seal Alliance signs available. We work with some amazing partners. So the Wildlife Safe Scheme is the WISE scheme for operators or for adventure activity providers. I'm a trainer on that, and we work really closely with WISE to spread best practice messaging. We also work with landowners. So this is the National Trust site where I survey. They've revolutionised it this year, We've got a hard standing path, which used to be very muddy, but more importantly, we've got a rope fence that's keeping people away from the cliff top for 3/4 of the cliff edge, and only 1/3 of the cliff edge is where you're able to see, and so reduce disturbance on the seal haul out. And they've produced these great user-friendly, simple signage to get the message across to people. The National Trust on the South Coast have made some of their voluntary beach closure signs for pups on the left. They put them on A-frames to make them usable year after year, as opposed to just laminating. And the other signs that we've made available is for playful seals. You know, those water sites where young juvenile seals are making a nuisance of themselves by interacting with swimmers, and swimmers are making a nuisance of themselves by interacting with seals. It's a two-way process. But we've produced these signs to help local groups put up to minimize interaction and to give people the message that if in doubt, get out, because, you know, the seals are in their home. We're just using it for fun. And we've worked with the Cornwall Inshore Fisheries and Conservation Authority, which is a statutory agency monitoring monitoring fishing. Basically, they've created these 2 seal signs to warn fishers about SSI legislation, where it is a criminal offence to disturb seals. Along the way, we've provided some amazing evidence. Our first paper back in 2012 by Bex Allen, who's one of our scientific advisors, was about entanglement. I produced this one back in 2019, and I can't write these papers without our volunteers collecting evidence. So it's a massive team effort. I think we've got a whole page of acknowledgements on this one. So that's our photo ID paper. And then we've literally just had a post-release monitoring of rehabilitated grey seals. We've just had it printed, which is great. We are super proud of the Seal Alliance, and thanks, Andy. I'm going to thank you again. We're really appreciative of you pulling us all together. Seal Research Trust and Seal Alliance have had some really high-level visitors. So the Environment Minister and the Parliamentary Under-Secretary, we had 3 requests. One, that disturbance and harassment gets added to the Conservation of Seals Act, because disturbance is illegal for whales and dolphins, but not for seals. Wildlife legislative review, the green paper should include seals. It looks like it will. And to support Natural England to do a SSI review process, because to add seals, you have to redesignate the whole site, and that's really silly. So now we represent ourselves and seals and give them a voice with lots of amazing statutory agencies. They're all listed on there. You don't need me to go through them, but they're people who look at population stuff, disturbance stuff, entanglement stuff, police groups, which is great, and looking at seal deterrence as well as policy and planning. We've had some amazing media just recently. So these are 2 articles in SUP magazines that have gone out this month. We had an article in The Guardian and The Observer. Please forgive us, because we're not allowed to choose the slogans, the strap lines and the headlines, and we're not that keen on them, but hey ho, is what it is. And we got a name check on Autumn Watch, which was fab, as well as a really good piece about how to watch seals well on Countryfile, which was fab. And I just wanted to show you the case study work that we do on disturbance. This is the data that we collect routinely, and it shows 5 out of the last 11 months are the worst that we've ever had on record. Basically, we get more seal disturbance incidents when there are more people around in the summer, and we get more seals disturbed in the winter when there are more seals around. But we weren't happy with that data. It wasn't robust enough for us to write some really strong scientific reports on. So we set up and got funded by the Green Recovery Challenge Fund to do people protecting precious places surveys. And Katie, our research ranger, coordinated the project, and we completed 110 surveys. That will be out soon. The report will be available before Christmas. But the really exciting bit for me was working with a stakeholder group in St Ives Bay, and some of their achievements are to get a seal of approval, best practice guidelines for one site, where basically at this site, 200 metres, you start to think, you slow down, you have a one-way system, you remain a constant sound, and you talk in whispers, you don't drive in or back in, you move sidewards only, you have no stopping, you stay more than 100 metres from the mean low water mark, you have less than 3 activities, you stay less than 15 minutes, and you ask participants to send in sightings. They've also come up with this idea, this seal of approval scheme, where we can monitor operators for a year, and if their practice has been good and met all these standards, then they can get the seal of approval for the following year. And finally, I just wanted to tell you about this risk assessmenting idea which we've got for seals. So this is Gareth's photo from Gower. And basically, it's a similar process to human risk assessmenting. You look at the potential outcome at the top and the probability of that happening, and you times them to get the risk level. So these seals here are kind of medium risk, whereas this one, if you approach from the water, you're not even going to see this one up on the 9-meter high ledge. But if you disturb that into the sea, that is going to create life-threatening injuries. I'd almost say it's near certainty. So it's more like 25 on the score. But let's be, realistic and err on the side of caution. And then this one is another offshore site. But if you look at, if those seals are 2 meters long, you can see how far they've got to drop, and it depends what's underneath them in the water. So again, that's quite a high level disturbance. So the concept of risk assessmenting, not all disturbance incidents have the same level of risk. St Ives-based stakeholder group have come up with these water-based stickers for SUPs and kayaks. And finally, just to say, we do have Christmas stuff on our shop. Please support us. We always have to say that because we're reliant on donors and funders, to avoid having to do difficult fundraising bids all the time. So that's my presentation. I have no idea if I did it in my 7 minutes. I'm sorry. I'm going to set the watch for now, which is a bit harsh. I should have set the watch on myself. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That's always good. No, I'm not. I'm going to start sharing again. I'm sorry. You need somebody good to do this. Okay, I'm going to go over to Sal at St Mary's. Sal, I'm happy to present your slides. All you need to do is tell me when to move on. You need to unmute yourself, Sal, and then the floor is over to you. Thank you very much for putting this presentation together, Sal.
Thank you, Sue. I'll switch my video off just so you don't need to see my face, just look at the presentation.
Okay, Sal, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a bit about St Mary's Island Wildlife Conservation Society. We're based in the northeast of England, and it started in 2014 with 2 members of the community who felt compelled to try and do something to alleviate the relentless disturbance caused by unmanaged footfall on our local nature reserve. We now have 40 trained volunteers who dedicate their time to actively protect the wildlife on our site. So next slide, Sue. The site is a small rocky intertidal island in the middle of a coastal nature reserve. It's near a heavily populated urban area with easy vehicle access and pedestrian access. It's a popular tourist destination with many recreational activities taking place on and around the island. Next one. As well as being a grey seal haul out, our site is of international importance for many species of waders and seabirds. So we work to protect the space rather than the species. Next slide. We promote a wildlife-friendly approach to connecting with nature, one where people are mindful of their impact and willing to put the wildlife first. Next. Good conservation management is about achieving a balance that works for the wildlife. We believe that nature being forced to tolerate us. Next slide. We believe rather than nature being forced to tolerate us, the expectation should be on the humans to adapt to nature. Putting nature first shouldn't be too much to ask, especially on a nature reserve. Next slide, Sue.
Sorry, Sal, it's probably a bit slow, is it?
Right. As you can see, it's a really busy site, so getting the community on side, encouraging them to take pride in what's on their doorstep and finding ways to support people to enjoy the area responsibly was and still is essential. But changing an accepted behaviour isn't easy, especially when you don't have the authority to do so. Next slide.
Quite a few people with wet feet on that photo.
Yep, that's us clearing the island every day. Some disturbances because people just don't care, but most is because people don't understand about the wildlife or their impact on the natural environment, and giving them the tools to make a difference is key to our work. Next slide. Before the work of St Mary's Island Wildlife Conservation, direct and uncontrolled access onto our grey seal haul-out was permitted and something visitors expected. Next.
Sorry, Sal.
This behaviour was never seen as a problem. Okay, next one.
Oh yeah, it's pretty shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. And a relationship that never benefited the wildlife existed. You can see the seal down here, just below the cigarette. And all but destroyed the struggling grey seal haul out on our site. Seal numbers were low, site usage sporadic, and site fidelity almost unheard of. Next. But we knew that if the wildlife was to have the opportunity to use this site, visitors and those in authority responsible for the protection of this reserve would need to change their attitudes and allow the animals space without interference from human interactions. Okay, next one. So we set about making sure information was available for visitors to be able to make an informed decision about their own actions. Next one. Helping people go away knowing something new is a good way to encourage change. Next slide. Information and advice comes in many forms. We made signs providing information on seal biology, behaviour and disturbance issues. Next one. While encouraging responsible wildlife watching and providing guidelines on best practice when visiting. This sign looks really close to those seals, but it's actually about 150 meters away. Next slide. But nothing is as powerful as face-to-face engagement, especially if accompanied with a friendly demeanour. So this close-up and personal contact between our volunteers and literally many thousands of visitors is at the foundation of our success. Next one. So haul out has increased, initially just seasonally, with numbers peaking through the annual molting season, to a site now used by seals all year. Next slide. Our site is just 40 miles from the Farns, one of England's biggest grey seal rookeries, and many of the seals using our site are post-wean pups. So without a doubt, having a protected haul out so close will benefit the whole colony. Next slide. So visitors are encouraged to use viewing areas and have begun to adopt a more responsible and considerate appreciation of the reserve, and can now enjoy the sight of hauled out seals just about every day. Next slide. And this is a more common sight today. Next one. Okay, this is from 2017, and it shows the sources of disturbance. So alongside our positive engagement, we have really pushed for better protection for the wildlife on our nature reserve. Recording disturbance levels in the early years enabled us to show our local authority, which manages the site, the scale of the problem, and working closely with them, we put forward solutions to mitigate the chronic disturbance. And as early as 2016, we identified that the only way to successfully mitigate against the extraordinary high footfall and associated disturbance on our site would be to establish and manage a zoned area. Next slide. And in 2019, our local authority agreed to set aside an area for the wildlife which visitors are asked to avoid. So zoning does rely on the goodwill of visitors. So we still have disturbance when our volunteers aren't on site, but those encroaching are now very likely to be reprimanded by other visitors. So we've also given visitors a voice when they see disturbance occurring. We have real issues with noise, and we still have some who put their activities first, even on a nature reserve. Next slide. Oh no, back one, Sue. I'm ahead of myself. No, it's me. Anyway.
Doing great, Sal, well done.
We continue to explore and implement actions to deal with disturbance. We liaise with our local police force, which is brilliant, to follow up wildlife disturbance. And above all, we still have volunteers on site from daybreak until dark, which in the summer are very long days. We would like to be there 24 hours a day, but unfortunately we can't because disturbance still occurs even in the middle of the night. We're still a work in progress, but we have come a long way. So what next? Well, what we want to see is seals given space from interference around haul-outs as well as on them. Next slide.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So a haul-out is made up of both the terrestrial and a marine habitat. The waters around a haul-out facilitate essential behaviour such as resting, feeding, social interaction, or scouting for a place to haul out on a haul-out site, yet little regard is given to the impact of human interference to seals in the water. It's easy to think that disturbance only happens when seals are on land, but the change in seal behaviour as a result of people in the water around a haul-out interferes with this aquatic behaviour. Therefore, it is a disturbance. Next slide. And we see little point in protecting part of the habitat while allowing the rest to be exploited. So we hope that in time, seals will be afforded the same considerations in the water as they are on land. So alongside our regional work, we want to see seals being given better protection through legislation, especially on and around haul-outs, and that working with the Seal Alliance is really making headroads with this. So we're very grateful for the opportunity to be part of the Seal Alliance. Thank you.
Well done, Sal. Thank you very much. Virtual round of applause. Okay, please will you think about putting your questions in the chat and also making comments in the chat. I'm going to move straightly on. You can see that I'm not very good at keeping to time. Sal was a bit over, so please do try to keep to time. Otherwise, I am going to have to chip in and say your time's up. So anyway, over to Gareth Richards in the Gower, who's representing Wales, which is great. Over to you, Gareth.
Oh, thanks, Sue. You know, I got a feeling that Gower Seal Group is probably the newest out of all the groups presenting here this evening.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and it's quite an honour, so thanks very much indeed. Next slide. Can I just acknowledge the Gower Society, who've been incredibly supportive to us since we started. We really appreciate the recent grant, which has opened up an exciting future for us. Next slide. So where exactly is the Gower? Well, we are situated on the South Wales coastline, and we are a peninsula which juts out into the Bristol Channel and towards the Celtic Sea. We're only 25 miles off the North Devon coastline, so we often get seals popping across for a little holiday in Wales. But in 1956, there were two memorable events that happened. One was, it was the year I was born. But more importantly than that, it was the year that Gower was designated as the first area of outstanding natural beauty within the UK. And it truly is a beautiful place. And I know that Sue was holidayed there before and climbed there before. Next PowerPoint. So who are we? Well, we are a small group. There's only 44 members. We had another 2 members join us last night, Catherine and Fern. Our main purpose is to raise awareness and profile of these iconic creatures that visit us here in Gower. As I said, we only formed back in the last week of July, so this year, so we are still finding our feet. But the one thing that immediately struck me when the members started joining us was the amazing skills and the knowledge and experience within the group. But more importantly than that was this sort of desire and enthusiasm which our members have shown. Tomorrow evening is quite a milestone for us because it's our first indoors meeting for us to plan the strategies, which I'm really looking forward to. So it's quite exciting times ahead. Next slide, Sue. I think we're all aware of the numerous threats and challenges that our seals currently face from climate change, disturbance and pollution and so on. And all these will be very familiar to everyone listening to us this evening. Next slide, Sue. And it's pointless really thinking or hoping that all these issues will go away. And I can remember an interview with Greta Thunberg where she said that hope doesn't come from words, hope only comes from action. And that's really what underpins our group, is that we'll be there taking action and not merely providing words itself. Next slide, Sue. Yeah, so this year, all of us, like all of us, all our activities have been limited due to the pandemic. So we concentrated on our efforts on some sort of quick hits. And really, the Give Seals Space campaign was one of those quick hits where we flooded Gower with the leaflets, erected signage. We've had a beach cleaned and continue to deliver presentations to local groups and organisations. The next slide, Sue. But realistically, we are gearing up for 2022. So the amount of effort we invest now will pave the way for a successful and exciting year ahead. The key to our success lies with the amazing commitment and enthusiasm of our 44 members. Our SEAL Ambassador programme lies at the very heart of our aims. We have a number of volunteers who will become the authority on SEALs, able to confidently speak and deliver accurate information to the public. They've already attended Sue's masterclass and will now undertake continual professional development ready to be unleashed to the public. Before we move on from this particular slide, I took this photograph a couple of weeks back and I absolutely adore it. The one thing that was so frustrating was the fact that this one, you can see that she's tagged and she just wouldn't, I just could not get the number. All I got was, please inform London Zoo. So yeah, I was so frustrated in that one. Next slide, Sue. Yeah, over the last few months, we've been forging positive links with various organisations such as these up on the slide, making sure that we promote our existence via national and local media outlets such as BBC Radio Wales, BBC Wales News, Wales Online and Gower Watch via YouTube. We are so lucky to have 2 wonderful wildlife filmmakers in our group, so I really look forward to working closely with them. These media opportunities have given us another chance to promote the Give Seals Space campaign, complementing our sort of local leafleting. We've created a significant link with the UK's first ever wildlife and rural crime coordinator, Rob Taylor, who was appointed by Welsh Government in July this year. Sue and I were delighted to be invited and we attended the Wales's first wildlife and rural crime conference last month, which in fact Sue presented on. This was a multi-organisational conference for Wales, and I think there were 52 different sort of delegates on that particular meeting. Since then, I've been contacted to train wildlife crime officers for 2 police forces on disturbance, etc. And we now have a scheduled 3-monthly update meeting with Rob Taylor. And so far, this has been extremely positive, forging closer links with us, the UK Seal Alliance, Welsh Government, and the UK Government. We'll be training an additional 30 National Coast Watch Institution watchkeepers on Gower, who meet the public on a daily basis, known to local, close to known seal haul-out sites. They too will act as ambassadors and have been handing out the Watch and Seals well leaflets since the campaign was launched. I mean, these guys are absolutely brilliant, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. Like Sue, we've had fantastic support from Gower National Trust and the Gower Society, and they've consulted us on seal disturbance, particularly over the recent public consultation on personal watercraft, jet skis, the disturbing increase in the use of drones, and the reviewing of local SSSI notifications to include seals, because at the moment our SSSIs do not include seals. We've made our feelings known in writing to Natural Resources Wales, and we're awaiting a response regarding these. I've written to 14 local marine leisure operators to encourage accreditation of their business under the Wildlife Safe Scheme, the WISE scheme that Sue mentioned earlier. So far, a little bit disappointed. The response has been poor, but this actually makes us more determined in our efforts to gain their support. We intend to continue our efforts so that it becomes unacceptable not to be a WISE accredited on Gower. Promotion of this scheme is so important, and hot off the press, we're looking at training our Welsh Police wildlife crime officers in WISE as part of an ongoing partnership with Rob Taylor, our wildlife coordinator. But of course, our biggest task will concentrate on the younger community. We intend to create an educational element for schools, colleges, and universities, which complements their studies on marine conservation. This is a work in progress and a very exciting one, and we shall update you next year, hopefully. We also intend to create a marine weekend, or at least a marine week, possibly, where a number of marine-based organizations and groups can come together to promote their conservation work to the public. This again is an exciting project, and we'll update you next year. We'll also attend various public events where we can showcase our work and raise awareness on disturbance and pollution locally. I'd like to personally thank Sue and her inspirational staff at Cornwall Seal Group Research Trust for their support, which we were setting up. And of course, you with the many established Seal Alliance members will give me lots of fantastic ideas. I will never steal these ideas, but I will certainly borrow them with pride. Top tips, I would say never forget who you're doing all this for and why, because I'm a firm believer if you lose your why, you lose your way. So our focus is the seals will be the absolute center and sole focus for us. Never give up, don't be afraid to fail, let failure be a motivator. And I also remind myself of 3 aspects about failure. Number 1, be prepared to fail. Number 2, fail on a survivable scale. And number 3, spot a failure and fix it quickly. Take every opportunity to expand your networks and share your great work with others. There's no point in duplicating effort and to value your contributions from your fellow members. And I did mention this to Sue before this meeting actually should have started. It'd be fantastic to see this be an annual event so that we can showcase our individual contributions. And I think that this time of year would be the ideal time to actually sort of do that. On the final slide there, Sue. I just want to say diolch yn fawr iawn. That's a very big thank you from this little part of Wales, and I hope I was within the sort of 7 minutes.
Not quite, but you've done a very good job, and it was certainly worth listening to the end. So thank you very much, Gareth. Please do, if you have questions for Gareth, please do put them in the chat, because otherwise you might forget, and we don't want that. If we don't have time to do the questions, then we can always reply in writing after the event. Okay, over to Matt and Neve, who run Yorkshire Seal Group.
Yeah, thank you. I have my phone on side of me, so I'll try to keep on time. Hi guys, my name's Niamh, and beside me, which our camera's off, but I have Matt here as well, and we're the co-founders of Yorkshire Seal Group. And we started a few years ago, and it was really a two-man band back then, and we were really just doing education out in schools, and we're also just going down to the seal colonies along Yorkshire, because we realised that they weren't actually getting any protection, and there was people walking amongst them causing quite a lot of havoc, unfortunately. So we really sparked a lot of anger in ourselves, and we decided to start a group. And it was really when we joined the Seal Alliance that we really got the advice that we needed. So next slide, please, Sue.
Got lots of photos on it, Niamh. That's
yes, there we go. So yeah, we couldn't do anything without the amazing volunteers that we have. So we have just over 30 volunteers, and they all are happy as Larry. And some wrapped up very warm because it's absolutely Baltic. So we come from a various of different backgrounds. Myself and Matt work in conservation, and we've worked in seal rehab as well. And we also have, retired folk. We have nurses, and we have ex-police, people working from the RNLI. So it's really a good mixture of backgrounds, and we work just amazingly well as a team, and we just couldn't do it without them, really. And then next slide, please, Sue.
And you can see here, this is one of our sites. We try to keep our sites anonymous. You can see the topography here is pretty brutal. I know a lot of the seal groups on here work in areas that are quite rugged. That's a double-edged sword for us, really. I guess one, it's a deterrent for people accessing the site, which is great. We would love to have all the steps removed at some of the sites, but it also is a bit of a barrier for volunteering as well. So recruiting and retaining volunteers when the substrate and topography is so dramatic does take it out of you. I've been up and down this site for the last 3 days, and you can pretty much crack a walnut between my quads. It's that bad going up and down there. But you can see the sort of the level of footfall increases. It's exacerbated more with social media, which Niamh will talk about in a moment. But yeah, we have to try and police the shore as best we can to prevent disturbances on the actual intertidal zone. Next slide, please, Sue. So you can see here some of the issues. Again, probably reciprocated around all the other groups here on the shore. We've got everything from glamorous selfies in the top left there for sort of the cover of Vogue. And then on the right-hand side, you might be able to see some of the movement shown in the photo there, the splashing of the seals from stampedes. We have various different coastal demographics using our sites in Yorkshire. So that could be fossil hunters, could be paddleboarders, could be walkers, ramblers, drones, kayaks, dogs off the lead, all the same sort of stuff that all the other groups have as well. Predominantly at our site, it's mainly terrestrial disturbance along our main sites. And that terrestrial disturbance is manifested predominantly from people that actually go to view the seals. So it's all about trying to change the behaviours and mitigate the disturbance there. But you can see some of the mug shots, which we have blurred out for security purposes. Next slide, please, Sue.
And so the main thing that we do work on is public engagement, and that's where our amazing volunteers come down to the shore, and we really just engage with people who are coming down to see the seal colonies along the Yorkshire coast. And we work on one main core site, and we really do either 2 hours after low tide or 2 hours before low tide, because that's when people can really access the shoreline there. And then during the breeding season, it is literally all hours of daytime, which during the winter, which is a little bit easier, but it's still brutal weather down there. And we're also work on 2 satellite sites as well. And we do a lot of seal monitoring in the population. So we monitor both grey and common seals along the Yorkshire coast. And we have seen a good movement of the seals using all of these different colonies along the Yorkshire coast. So it's just emphasises the importance to protect them all, basically. And you can just see that some of the successes we've had over this year. So we've engaged with over 22,000 people. We've had 2,888 volunteer hours, which is absolutely amazing. And now we're starting to expand into our satellite sites a little bit more. And then the next slide, please, Sue.
So yeah, similar to all the other groups, we've had a great success with signage going up. So there's a variety of signs. Obviously, we've got the Code of Conduct one, Give Seal Space there. You can see some of our sites. Great engagement with different stakeholders. So we've got some harbour people there in the top right. That's a Scarborough Harbour, where we have a lot of antisocial behaviour with drinkers, disturbing seals that are hauling out to rest. Working with water sports agencies. So we've got surf shops down at the bottom there. Also a lot with Operation Seabird as well, to try and just change the behaviours. It's all about education and trying to get people to resonate with the plight of the seal, so empathise with them, and telling stories is really what we try to do with these signs, and also physically in person on site as well. Next slide, please, Sue. Education is one of the key things we deliver. We've been doing this for years up here, and also previously where I worked up in Scotland. We work in conjunction with the Marine Conservation Society, which is the UK's largest marine NGO, to deliver curriculum-linked education. And we've got a lesson called Pinnipeds in Peril, and that links to both primary schools and secondary schools. And we deliver this for free out and about all across Yorkshire. So examples, this week I have delivered 6 sessions comprising 230 kids across those 6 sessions this week. And it's all about improving ocean literacy amongst the younger generation. So they can be obviously the ones to then tell their parents how to behave if needs be on a site if they are disturbing seals. So yeah, that's our education side of things. We've done thousands of kids so far, and we've got 6 education trained volunteers, all DBS cleared and ready to go into schools at a moment's notice, should the teachers wish. Next slide, please, Sue.
So another thing we work on alongside when we're not on site is social media monitoring. So we're really trying to change the narrative of seal engagement and just really try remove those disturbance footage that is on site and preventing the name of our site being disclosed in these social media, such as Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And you can see there was a video at the top left, and that's actually someone touching a seal, sadly. So that's one of a really horrific video that we have, and we very kindly got it removed, and she was very apologetic, but obviously the damage was still done, unfortunately. But we're just trying to really increase the awareness of seal disturbance and that it is a serious issue. And we're trying to increase this ocean literacy, especially on the social media, because that is where we found a lot of people were finding out about the site and getting down to see the seals. Next slide, Sue. And then another thing was just the main reason why we started the group was because of we got a lot of call outs then at the seal colony, and mainly it was because of entanglements as well. So we've actually freed 6 entanglements in 2020, and we've done 9 entanglements in 2021 so far. So, and there's still another few, probably another 13 that we still know of that are still out there. So we are going to be busy during the winter season when they come closer to the shore. Next slide, Sue.
I don't need to dwell too much on the PR. Obviously, amazing PRs goes across all the groups. Some things we've been proud to get into. We've been into a lot of the big papers. Again, exclude some of the antagonistic headlines they've put in. So we've got the Sun, the Independent, the Telegraph. We've been in BBC Local, BBC National, and we've also got into BBC World Services, bringing seals to the world from Yorkshire. Next slide, please, Sue.
And then just very quickly on Operation Seaboard, that has been really helpful for especially with commercial operators. So you can see even the big difference that reporting it to police and police chatting to this boat operator, the distance that they're actually starting to respect the seals. Next slide, Sue.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Thank you.
And lastly, a bit of research. We tried to do a bit. I've just finished my master's thesis on seal disturbance in Yorkshire. So working on trying to understand people's motivations and expectations of seal encounters, really trying to get them to sort of take on a vicarious perspective, think through the eyes of a seal, empathise with the animal and connect to it. And that way, obviously, it will try to in turn change their behaviours on site. It's done really, really well. We also do mortality and disturbance and obviously feed that back to landowners to look at site changes. One of the interesting facts at the bottom, just very, very quickly, 21% of people in Yorkshire who we approached admitted disturbing seals as one of our social science surveys, and 53% have witnessed others disturbing seals. So it's a massive issue on the Yorkshire coast. Next slide, please, Sue.
Last but not least, our aspirations for the site, even chatting to volunteers, is mainly trying to close the path because it's the right away, just out of the pupping season, just to give them that break. And just expanding our volunteer base as much as we can, so it relieves the pressure of volunteers that we have. And ongoing, we have a manic puppet season starting, and we're going to try free more entangled seals. And that is all from us.
Oh, well done, you. What a fantastic site.
A little bit late, sorry.
It is what it is. You have a lot to say, and it's all really important to say. Thank you very much. It was really interesting. David Vise, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. David Vise, over to you. David, are you there? Okay, I don't think David is there, so I'm going to start sharing my screen again then, and we will whiz to Dan Jarvis, who is next. Sorry, Dan, I'll be there in a sec. Here we go. Dan, I know you're there.
Thank you. Yeah, I am here. Sorry, it's just unmuting.
Fine.
I'm just going to turn my video off as well because I'm getting a little bit of lag.
I'm back now, Sue, anyway, so.
Oh, okay, David, we'll do you after Dan.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Thank you, Sue, for setting this up, and lovely to see so many people joining us tonight. Thank you. My name is Dan Jarvis. I'm the Welfare and Conservation Director at British Divers Marine Life Rescue. We're a nationwide charity who trains people to become what we call marine mammal medics, volunteers who attend call-outs that we receive on our hotline to marine mammals in distress. We have about 2,500 volunteers around the country who are part of our team. And again, many of those volunteers are also with us tonight, either as area coordinators. I can see a few of you have joined us tonight. That's great. Thank you for coming, guys. And of course, many of our members also proliferate throughout various other organisations that are here tonight as well. So there's lots of joined up working, which is fantastic as well. Lots of knowledge sharing and working together, which, that's all we really hope to aim for, really. So it's great to have so many people involved in so many different things together. Just looking at our call outs on the next slide, please, Sue. The number of calls that we receive on our hotline has been increasing quite a lot in the last few years. And you can see that hopefully on this chart here. So in 2017, we had our first year with over 1,000 call outs. Last year, we had our first year with over 2,000 call outs. So there's a lot sort of going on in the background that's driving these different rates of calls each year. But we're just going to break it down on the next graph, Sue, on a monthly basis, just to illustrate where those peaks are coming in from. So about 90% of the call outs, if not more probably now these days, are regarding seals. And it's usually as pups in the first few days or weeks of their life that are getting into difficulty of one kind or another. So you can see we've got the peaks in summer, which is when the common seals are giving birth to their pups. And then from sort of late summer onwards, and then throughout the winter and into the new year, we have the grey seals giving birth to their pups, and they have a much more prolonged season. And as the grey seal population in this country actually outnumbers the common seal population, we are actually busier with the grey seal call outs. And of course, as you can see, December has to be by far the busiest month over the year, and specifically I'd say the Christmas holidays. So that does seem to be especially when we're getting lots and lots of calls about pups. Now, looking at the next slide, Sue, we've just broken down some of the reasons why we're seeing these increases in call outs, and have put them into sort of 4 categories really. One of which is the increasing awareness of BDMLR or access to information. So that's through advances in technology, smartphones in particular, make it a lot easier for people to look up the names and contact details of rescue groups and seal rehab centres around the country when they find something that they're worried about. Social media and the media have played a really huge part in that as well. There's a lot more environmental awareness in the media and on social media as well. So some of our rescue stories are being picked up more readily than they used to be as well, particularly things around plastic pollution, entanglement, climate change a bit more as well these days, as well as we're starting to see some more of the effects of that as well. And also the work of some of our volunteers around the country who have been working to sort of engage with local communities and authorities as well. They've gotten signage and posters up at certain places that especially where we get quite a lot of call outs, hotspot areas around the country, with advice on what to do if you see a seal pup on the beach and how to not disturb it, and our contact details at BDMLR to report to if they are concerned. The next point on here is the increasing human population. There are more people living at the coast, there are more people visiting the coast, there are a lot more people taking up marine and coastal activities, and all of that can have an effect on the wildlife that they are encountering out there. So as we've heard tonight, disturbance is becoming a really major issue. Certainly up there with the likes of plastic pollution and climate change is a massive, massive problem. And we ourselves in our sort of more particular instance here where we're having lone pups on public beaches as opposed to seals on seal haul out beaches, we are seeing more problems with people sort of misbehaving around the little pups. They're picking them up, taking them into the water and trying to get them back in the sea, taking selfies with them, sitting children on them to take pictures as well. And also dog attacks. We're getting a lot more dog attacks these days as well that we're hearing about and recording, unfortunately, as well. So there's, you know, sort of a variety of things going on in there, in that particular category as well. The next is linked to climate change, which Sue touched on a little bit in her presentation earlier. So we're getting more and more evidence now that the increasing storms that we're getting, particularly on the west coast of the UK coming off the Atlantic, is potentially having a population level effect on grey seals in particular through autumn and winter. And that is through an increase in the immediate mortality of pups in those storms, but also in the reproductive success of the females, the mature females as well, because if it's been really, really stormy and they've lost their pups, they might actually just leave without mating, or they might have complications that prevent them from getting pregnant again. So it's been a really, really interesting case study, particularly from the winter of 2017-18, where that was most pronounced. And the fourth point on here is that, again, in the last few years, we've been seeing increasingly worrying signs of poor health in the common seal population, particularly on the east coast of England. There's a particular condition that we refer to as mouth rot, which is affecting particularly young common seals. And we're getting a lot of these pups being rescued in quite a severe condition. A lot of them are going into rehab, but just aren't surviving, unfortunately, if the condition isn't caught and treated early enough. So, you know, a lot of the pups aren't even surviving the first 24 hours after admission, unfortunately, because this, whatever it is that's going on, we're not quite sure what's causing it, is really quite nasty. And trying to come up with treatments for it is quite difficult. Next slide, Sue. You're on mute, Sue. I can see you speaking, but I can't hear you.
Sorry, Dan, I was just going to say you've had 7 minutes, so I'm thinking it's fine to go to 10.
Okay, no worries, I'll go quickly. So we've had a lot of good achievements this year for BDMLR. You can keep flicking through the next few slides, Sue. So we've just opened in the last couple of months a purpose-built seal hospital in Cornwall, which helps support the regional rehabilitation network for seal rescue and rehab in this area. It's one of the places in the country where we get really, really inundated and we run out of space. So we've got 10 pens in here, and this is manned entirely by volunteers, along with myself and our veterinary support coordinator. Keep going, Sue. We have started a formal investigation into this common seal mouth rot issue. We've had some funding from the government to enable us to do some analysis on samples that are being taken from the animals that don't survive and go for a post-mortem examination. So we've had some early results which look quite interesting at the moment. I'm not going to claim to understand them because it's all very veterinary sciencey sort of stuff, but there is some really interesting results starting to come out of that from a limited number of samples so far, and we're continuing with that project at the moment, and will do for the next year as well, in which we were hoping to identify some of the ways of diagnosing this earlier and better ways of treating it, basically. We had a lot to do with the visiting walrus, which I'm sure you all heard about earlier this year, and his adventures along the western coast of Europe. So we were particularly heavily involved when he turned up at the Isles of Scilly for 6 weeks, and we also supported colleagues at the RSPCA when he was in Wales, and also Seal Rescue Ireland when he left the Isles of Scilly and went over there with advice over management of both him but also people, because both of them were causing issues towards one another. Next point, Sue. Oh, the slide doesn't come up yet. We, in the background, we helped to get some extra funding for seal postmortems to be added back to the remit of the Cetacean Strandings Investigation Programme, and also contributed key data on seal disturbance and dog attacks to DEFRA as part of the efforts to get legislation for seals to protect them from disturbance as well. And that sort of culminated from the incident with Freddie the seal, Freddie Mercury the seal, who was attacked and sadly had to be put to sleep from the severity of his injuries in the River Thames earlier this year. And then the last couple of points on here are our plans for next year, with expanding opportunities for training for our volunteers across the country at our seal hospital, continuing with the mouth rod investigation. We have the walrus paper, scientific paper, that we're looking to publish in conjunction with colleagues in Ireland and Wales, with a comparison with a leopard seal case in New Zealand as well. That's currently ongoing. We're planning to build more marine mammal rescue capacity and knowledge in other countries, such as the Netherlands, Denmark and Mauritius next year, where we currently have inquiries. We did one recently in Italy, and continue to make use of other opportunistic events and incidents to promote marine mammal conservation education and awareness as well, of course. And that just leaves me with our highlight of the year, seal highlight of the year, which isn't a seal. It's got to be the walrus, of course, because it was such a unique, challenging, strange, stressful, but ultimately rewarding experience to deal with such a enigmatic animal. So that is, in a real nutshell, some of the things that we've been through in the last 12 months. And of course, we don't do it alone. We have a huge range of partners, including everybody here in the Seal Alliance who we work with to achieve what we can do. So again, lots of partnership working, all of the great stuff linked up together with lots of people working towards a common cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Really fantastic and well done. I'm sorry that we don't really have enough time. There's just a lot of us to get through. Okay, so David Vise, over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to give you a second to unmute this time.
Okay, you can hear? Can you hear me?
I can, David, yes.
Lovely,
hello.
that's fine. Yeah, good evening, everybody. I can assure you that mine won't last more than about 3 minutes. But just very quickly, I'll just give you a resume of us in Norfolk. We run on the east coast of Norfolk, as you know, with all the seals we've got there. Before 2011, it was run by the Natural England. And due to the recession, we took over as Friends of Horsey Seals in 2012. We're a voluntary organisation. At the moment, we've got 450 volunteers, which is quite a lot as the colony are spreading out over the coastline. They're there. We cordon them and rope off all the beaches and dunes, and we have a voluntary beach closure, mainly at Horsey and mainly at Winterton. They were in 20 years ago only about small in number. But now we've had last year, 2,500 pups born at Horsey, right the way down to Winterton. We feel that the seals that have moved down to Winterton were there, washed down in the storm of 2015, and they now the mothers are now giving birth, and they're going back to the place they were brought up. We cover a large area now. Most of our land at the back is SSI. And we've got great help from our landowners who back us up completely. We've got a dedicated rescue team of 6, basically because we've got so many seals at Horsey and Winterton with either fishing net injuries or flying rings around the neck. And we had a flying rings campaign, which the local council has helped. All our injured seals go to the RSPCA if they're embedded. But if they're okay, we will cut them off and then release them back into the sea. But what was just a seasonal project with us is now becoming all right the way around the year. It's incredible. We've got a claim to fame, which you already most know about it. We've got the only registered born twins of seals in the world, which we're really pleased about that. But our disturbance is quite good at the moment. Well, not good, but it's 99% of the people around Horsey and Winterton are well behaved because of the ropes and because of the high dunes we've got. But we do have a few problems with people going up to stroke the seals. We've got a good working relationship with Operation Seabird, the police, North Norfolk District Council and Great Yarmouth Council. We also got a training scheme for all our wardens, which may help other people. We've got a good training school and we educate all our wardens before they go on the beaches. But so far this year, the colony is getting bigger and it grows by 200 every year. So we need more wardens to spread down the beaches. But that's Norfolk in a nutshell.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, David. That's great. And well done for sticking to time and keeping under it. Well done. Excellent. Okay. I don't think we have Adele or Celia on the call, but if they do, they have an opportunity to unmute and speak. But I think our next speaker is going to be Diane Westwood from the Norfolk Seal Project. Diane, would you like to unmute?
Hello.
Hello, go for it, hun.
So Norfolk Seal Project, founded in June 2021. The main reason really was I wanted a platform to address seal disturbance and entanglement, and I had no other way of doing that really but to set up the Norfolk Seal Project, and it basically is me. I see the group more of a lobbying and campaigns group, to be honest. I launched it with lots of press coverage. I've had interviews with lots of local newspapers. We did BBC radio. I was accompanied by Clive, my dog, who provided barking dog sound effects for the disturbance and harassment piece that BBC Radio Norfolk did. Next slide, please, Sue. So here's just one of the articles that we had with an absolutely fantastic logo that a friend of mine designed for me. Next slide. We've also managed to persuade local councils and clergy to put posters up on their notice boards. Persuading the Borough Council, which is Kings Lynn and West Norfolk, has been really difficult. It's been really hard work, and I've spent a month trying to liaise with the officer at our Borough Council. I've got support from local parish councillors for signage at one particular beach where we get harassment of seals. But the signage has got to be approved by the borough. So we're still ongoing with that. All the business letters, the template business letter that Seal Alliance provided has gone out to local hotels. And the idea is that seal disturbance leaflets are in the guest packs in every room. So next slide, please. We've also been involved in this brilliant campaign by Friends of Horsey Seals. We give out these leaflets to people on the beach, particularly if they've got frisbees with them. We actually have not found a frisbee seal in West Norfolk. We find the frisbees when we're doing our beach cleans on the beach. So beach cleaning for us is really, really important. Next slide, please. So we haven't got massive seal colonies in West Norfolk. We've got a few seals that hang out in Hunstanton on the sandbars. As it says there, usually if you walk out to these, the RNLI end up giving you a lift back, but they are accessible to jet skis and kayaks. Now, I have done a plea on social media asking for any witness statements, reports of any disturbance here. Haven't had any yet, but I think with the increase in visitors we're getting to Norfolk, it will come. Next slide, please. The biggest colony in sort of our area, this is North Norfolk, is Blakeney. It's a National Trust site. The National Trust have just, in the last few days, said that they've had their first grey pup at Blakeney, and they have said that they are expecting another 4,500 grey seal pups to be born in the next few months. It's not the easiest site to get to. It is a very long walk on shingle if you walk it, not for the faint-hearted or anyone like me with dodgy knees. So you can go out on boat trips, and the boat trips are good boat trips. I mean, they're all really, really sensible. They've been doing it for years. They don't tend to disturb the seals. I've been out a few times, and yeah, we're happy with people doing that, really. Next one. So we've had a really busy summer with harbour seals this year. Now, this is my British Divers Marine Life Rescue medic hat I'm wearing now. We've been quite busy with the commons. This is one of the ones I took from the boat when I went out to Blakeney. Next one, Sue, please. This was a seal that British Divers Marine Life Rescue medics went out to at Hunstanton. He was apparently being rammed by people on bikes trying to force him in the water. Unfortunately, we didn't get to him in time, but we get our disturbance not with colonies of seals, but with individual seals. So those will be healthy seals that just want to chill, or they will be sick and injured seals that have come onto the beach for just to rest. And so this is where our disturbance lies. It isn't colonies like some of you get. Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Oh, we missed one. Back one if we can.
Social media.
That's. Is there another one just before that, Sue?
No.
Right,
the one
okay.
before that was the one of this one. We've got anecdotal evidence of seal disturbance.
Oh, okay, in that case, then I put the one I wanted in the wrong place, but there you go. So we do a lot of sharing on social media. I love this. This is actually a poster from the US, but the social media, we have to have everything approved by admin on local social media groups. Hunstanton, Heacham particularly are the biggest areas where we have seal issues around here. Generally the admins are really good and they will share anything what we want to share, but the seal disturbance leaflets go on there an awful lot, and also how to behave around seals. Next one, please. This is my other seal disturbance, little pup. I've never yet, until this poor pup here, had to basically lift a seal from between a man's legs on the beach. But this pup, when I got to this one, he was, the guy was sitting with his legs apart on the beach with a camera, and the water was lapping around this one's flippers. So I didn't get a photograph of the man with the camera because I had to get this one before it went back in the water. So yes, so we are again single seal disturbance rather than colonies like the rest of you you see. Next one, please. Now, Dan mentioned this. We are seeing a lot of harbour seals with palatal ulceration. This seal we took this photograph when this seal had been put to sleep, for the simple reason that we did not want to put this pups through any more stress and suffering. That's bone you can see in the roof of the mouth there. We've had them, these single seals, we've actually had seals physically thrown or chased it back into the water before medics have arrived. And I just really hope that none of those have been seals like this, because these seals need to be picked up and rescued. So the British Small Animal Veterinary Association, the Manual of Wildlife Casualties in 2016, they actually said that palatal ulceration is relatively common in weaned harbour seal pups. We see it with gum erosion, osteomyelitis, tooth loss, and this palatal ulceration where you get fistulas joining the roof of the mouth to the nasal cavity. What you cannot see from this photograph, what you don't know, is the smell. The smell of these mouths is absolutely horrendous, and it's stomach churning. And both the vet and myself on this one, we were just heaving at this. So I'm really hoping, I'm so glad we're British Divers Marine Life Rescue are investigating this, and the study's going ahead, because I've got a morbid fascination being a veterinary nurse, and I really would like to know what is causing this, and if there is anything we are going to be able to do about it. Next one, please. So Sue asked for a seal highlight of 2021. This is mine. This little one was collected by Snettisham Beach on a June evening a few months ago this year. I actually thought she was dead. I got my stethoscope out of my bag and rolled her head over. And then next one, please. Next one, please. So this one. And that's the face that I got when I turned her over. She went straight to our local vet for a vet check. The following, she had some fluid therapy that night. The following day, she was taken early morning down to our area coordinator who at the SEAL unit in Suffolk for some tender loving care and some more fluid therapy and treatment. And then next photograph. She came back to East Winch after a weekend in the SEAL unit with our coordinator, and she was released back into the wash in October. And here she is this is East Winch Wildlife Centre's photograph, and she's with Tango, another one of the pups that I picked up from Snettisham Beach. Next one, please. So future plans, we're just going to keep hammering away with the hotels and accommodation to increase awareness of disturbance, distribution of leaflets and posters. We're still desperate to try and get some permanent signage, particularly in Heacham and Hunstanton, where we get these single seal disturbance problems, and as much publicity on the issues as we possibly can. Next one, please. Phew, the end.
Thank you very much, Di. Well done. That's excellent. I don't know why I've just stopped sharing my screen. That was a bit stupid. Sorry. I'm going to go straight on to the next one, which will be, I don't think we have Jem and don't have Jem, but I think we have Mary. Mary, I'm not sure if you wanted to present anything. Did you? You can unmute if you like.
Yeah, no,
I'm thinking that I'm going to have to keep people, I feel really bad about this, but I'm going to have to keep people to about 8 minutes because otherwise we won't get through everyone. So over to you, Mary.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. My name is Mary, founding director of Thames Seal Watch. This is an organization that I began after I was a part of Freddie the Seal's rescue along the Thames in London. His attack, rescue, and death deeply, deeply affected me. And after his death, I made a vow to do my best to make sure that that never happened again. So with this organization, I have 3 missions. 1 is to strengthen legislation, 2, education and awareness, and 3, seal surveying. So as far as the legislation goes, I started a government campaign, which of course, most of you know about. I teamed up with MP Tracy Crouch. We've had 2 10-minute rule bills, of course, the petition, which has had over 26,000 signatures. And the latest news on that is I was given the assignment to find enough MPs to back the 10-minute rule bill, which I have successfully done, including Duncan Baker from Norfolk, who wrote me a really, really sweet email, basically saying that he completely is in tune with all of the disturbance issues that are happening in his patch. He wants to do everything he possibly can to make sure that that is a thing of the past. So he has offered to be a signatory on this bill, which Tracy has said yes to. So everything is in full swing. It is in motion. We have now reached the next level. And as far as education and awareness goes, I've kind of divided that up into about 4 segments. So 1 is permanent seal signage along the Thames, which I have been working with DEFRA on, using the Seal Alliance disturbance signs. So there's 5 councils that I'm working with. Of those, 1 has successfully been installed. I have 4 more councils to work with. 1 is in the middle of we're teaming up basically now, working out locations. That is a bit of a slow process, as I'm sure some of you know, when it comes to working with councils. And I have to admit that it hasn't been my priority, as the legislation has been my priority lately, but it is my priority at the moment. So I'm trying to get all of those signs up so that I can work on the next thing, which is temporary signs. These are signs that I hope to put up. They would be mobile signs that would be stored at like rowing houses. It would be put up basically whenever there's a marine mammal that's been hauled out that public can have access to. It would say things along the lines of make sure your dog is on a lead, please keep the noise down, keep your distance for X amount of feet, etc. These could be used for any marine mammal, really. So if any is needed for a rescue, then that's fine as well. So those could be transported to specific areas where seals are potentially hauled out. The other is to make sure that all of the watercraft operators on the Thames are WISE certified. There was a report last year of seals trying to jump and actually successfully jumping onto paddle boards on the river. So to make sure that the water sports operators are WISE certified and everybody who's renting any of these watercrafts are aware of what to do, not do, don't chase the seals if you do end up seeing one, etc., then that is obviously a goal as well. And then the last thing is talks, just very much boots on the ground, going out into the community and speaking. So I've already done an interview with the Thames Estuary Partnership. I've just finished a talk with Sue with the Chiswick Pier Trust. And the next thing on the list is actually planning ahead for next year. So at the end of March, March 22nd is International Seal Day. So instead of me doing the talks, because I actually absolutely hate doing this, is I'm going to be hiring teachers to go out to the schools and do it for me. So I'm building a curriculum at the moment, and we'll be going into schools along the Thames to kind of celebrate seals, and we'll be discussing basic facts, population in the UK as well as in the Thames, threats to seals and ways in which you can protect them, including, of course, disturbance. So at the end of the talks, the children will be able to sign a pledge if they're interested, where they can become seal watchers and join the SEAL team and be little ambassadors for their local patch. But they can also take this knowledge with them so that when they go on holidays to Norfolk or to Cornwall or Scotland or wherever, then they can say, no, Mom, you're not supposed to get that close. You know, I'm a SEAL ambassador. I know you're not supposed to do that. And they kind of take charge and are able to, you know, do something about the situation. Also, the other thing in the works is having the schools come together and use recyclable items to create seal art. I'm speaking with the London Wetlands Centre about potentially doing an exhibit showcasing these items for Earth Day for April of 2022. And then the last thing is seal surveying. So at the moment, the Zoological Society of London, ZSL, is the one who's been responsible for the seal surveys in the Thames. But they've only been doing them in the estuary, and it's only once a year. Currently, there's about 4,000 seals in the Thames, but sightings far up the river have increased dramatically. What we don't know is how many of those seals are different seals versus the same seal being seen multiple times. So what my role is coming into this is that I'm going to put together a seal surveying team along the river where we're seeing a lot of these seals, and we're going to start taking photos of them and having some identification and starting to keep a track of all of the ones that are coming up the river and find out how many are actually coming up the river versus just multiple sightings. And I will be collaborating with ZSL with that information. And that is it. I have an extra minute for whoever wants it.
Thank you very much, Mary. That's really kind of you. Thank you. So next up is to Seal Rescue Ireland, which is to Mel, who I can see has unmuted. You're just going to speak, aren't you? Yes, go for it. You're going to present.
I'm going to present. Is it okay if I share screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, it will be. Hang on a sec, because we just need to make you a co-host. Are you Seal Rescue Ireland? Marion, can you see Mel?
I've changed it to Melanie Seal Rescue Ireland.
Okay, I can't see you on the list, Mel. Oh, yes, I can. Okay, I'm going to make you a co-host. Yes, I do. Now you should be able to share your screen.
Perfect. Thank you. All right.
That's worked.
Yes. Let me minimize this.
Thanks, Mel.
Sent. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. And thank you, Mary, for the extra minute, because I probably just used that. Okay, so my name is Melanie Croce. I am the Executive Director at Seal Rescue Ireland. At a glance, Seal Rescue Ireland, our vision statement is healthy seas, healthy seals. So it's not just rescue, rehab, and release, but also research, education. We're doing habitat restoration. We're now doing community conservation programs, which is empowering communities along our coastlines to monitor seals and seal sit during pupping season to hopefully prevent rescue situations. We've got a volunteer rescue network nationwide to help us rescue seals. We have virtual trainings every month, so we're always recruiting for more volunteers. I also would like to mention that we offer free trainings for other organizations. Of course, if anybody wants to attend, you're welcome to. It's more from an informational standpoint for collaboration, how we can learn and grow with each other, because obviously you're not going to be here actually helping us lift seals, but we're always interested in feedback with our partners overseas. And we have our internship program as well. At the moment, we've got 28 full-time at the center. Lots of work going on. We're at the busy part of our season, and we also have a tourist center. So we've got people coming for behind-the-scene tours as well. So seals in Ireland, kind of skip around here a bit since a lot of this is old news to a lot of you, but seals are currently protected under the EU Habitats Directive as well as the Wildlife Act of 1976. Since they went into protection, the numbers have slowly started to recover. We currently have 8,000 to 10,000 gray seals and only 3,000 to 4,000 common seals, and those numbers are dropping. So every individual we're able to rescue really does matter for the population. Now, here's the numbers so far this year. We've rescued 85 seals. There's literally one in transport as we speak. So they're definitely coming in hard with all this weather that we've been having. It's established back in 2010. You can see that trend is going up. In 2017 was that horrible year with Hurricane Ophelia. The numbers went back down a bit, but last year during COVID, we had a record-breaking year of 170 intakes. So we rescue them all not on our own, of course, because we're the only seal rescue in Ireland. We would have to be driving all over the country. So we do have 800 active networks all over the country. And when a seal is reported to us on our 24-hour hotline, we'll send out a trained volunteer in that area. We'll monitor it. And if it does need to be rescued, we'll organize a train of transport for people to come to be brought into us. So media coverage this year it's been a really great year for media. We've had over 150 news articles. We've been on over 151 radio and podcast appearances, lots of TV. We've been on BBC, National Geographic, Channel 4, PBS, RTE. So it's been a really great year for getting word out about our work. Social media is, of course, we've all turned to social media for a lot of our education and outreach since a lot of our doors had to close last year. So our Instagram has gone up quite a bit. We have to pepper in lots and lots of cute seal pics, but then we'll every once in a while put some hard-hitting facts, because the whole idea is to build that emotional connection between people and then the issues facing the seals. At TikTok, we somehow have 1.8 million followers. So it's a great way to reach new audiences. Of course, they're more interested in the cute videos, but again, if we can get those hard-hitting facts kind of peppered in, then we are reaching a really important audience. So like I said, the Seals in Care, it's about building that emotional connection. So some of the big picture issues that we talk about are plastic pollution. And we do, that's a picture of a seal that we caught in the Dublin Harbor actually eating a piece of plastic. So that really does kind of make an impact on people. In the lower right-hand corner is a seal that came into care and actually died. We had a necropsy done on it and a piece of plastic was found in its belly. So these are issues that really do kind of make an impact on people and make them want to change behaviors. Unsustainable fishing is a big one. We have lots of seals getting caught in nets. They've got fishing hooks. This isn't new to any of you, but these images really do make an impact on people. Emaciation, of course, unsustainable fishing is a huge, huge issue that we really are trying to address. And this is a really interesting infographic. It just shows what the total allowable catch is for the international fishing fleet in Irish waters, which is 1.3 million tons. The Irish fishing fleet is bringing in 250,000 tons. And then that tiny, tiny little bar on the right is what the total seal population in Ireland can eat. So this is what we show people when they say that seals are eating all of the fish. Human disturbance is a big one. Of course, that's Freddie Mercury, as Mary was just talking about. We've got lots of seals. That lower right was a seal that was attacked by a dog, and many of them don't survive. So we're really trying to grow that awareness. So we've established the community conservation program to kind of focus on the different areas when it's really important. So common seal pupping season for us is mostly on the West Coast and around the summer months. And then right now we're in gray seal pupping season. We were able to reduce the number of rescues this year, thankfully, because we did have a lot of awareness this year compared to previous years, to the point that we were going out to check on pupping beaches and we were being told by kids, oh, please don't approach that seal. There's seals on the beach over there. So it's really amazing to see so many people changing their perceptions about things and really wanting to help protect those seals. And then of course, molting season is another really critical time period that we're really trying to close off beaches for them to be able to exhibit those natural behaviors. We could not talk about 2021 without talking about Wally the walrus. It was a really great opportunity to collaborate with other organizations. BDMLR, particularly Dan and Lizzie, were absolutely lifesavers when he showed up in August, and it was a lot of media attention and a really big opportunity to raise awareness about climate change, how Arctic Sea is melting. These Arctic species might become vagrants elsewhere in search of new habitats, but also about disturbance. We had so much attention around him, and we really tried to take that narrative and use it as an opportunity to show what threats our native pinnipeds are also facing. So we've been protecting key haul-out sites. This is an example of one of them. This is Brideshead Beach, and it's just a very small cove. It can have up to 120 seals on it. It takes one person to walk out there and flush them. So that's the same beach after one person walked out. So we actually did get that beach closed, and we've been doing public surveys. It's been really successful. The amount of community engagement that has been involved, the amount of feedback that we've got supporting the closure of that beach was really surprising. And we're hopefully going to use that to implement that elsewhere on other beaches. So in addition to that, it's also an opportunity to raise awareness about citizen science, the information that we need, because we can't be everywhere at once. We need members of the public to help us by reporting flipper tags, entanglements, and dead seals, as well as, of course, the non-native pinnipeds. Not just Wally the walrus, we also had a ringed seal last year. So we are seeing more and more Arctic vagrants. It's just that's really important for us to know and to keep track of. So here on Brideshead Beach, we were able to recite a few seals. A few of them were ours, and then a few of them came from Scotland and the UK. So it's amazing to be able to share that information to our colleagues elsewhere, and we love to get our reports of our tagged seals elsewhere as well. Dead seal reports is something that's been on the rise as well. You can see in 2020, we had a record-breaking year of 201 dead seals reported to us. Unfortunately, just halfway through the first 3 months of this year, we were already at 135. So the number of dead seals is on the rise. You can see on the map where it's clustered. A lot of that is along the southeast coast, and it does coincide with pair trawling activities. So this is information that we really want to get out there to try to address those conflicts between seals and fisheries. Oh, sorry, I'll just skip that. So climate change is another one that we're really trying to raise awareness about. The severity and frequency of storms are on the rise. And of course, gray seal pupping season occurs during storm season. So it always results in more seals having to come in. Water pollution is a huge issue. We were seeing lots and lots of seal pox, lungworm, intestinal worms. And that is all due to stuff that we're putting out there that's impacting their immune systems. So this might come as a shock to many of you, but in Ireland, there are still 34 locations nationwide that are still spewing raw sewage into our waters every single day. So we have a huge water quality issue. So it's not surprising that we're getting lots of sick seals. This is an example of our Town Harbor after a rain event. That's just water, that's just pollution, sediments, fertilizers, anything you can imagine going straight into our waterways, which is a really, really big problem. And our seals are a bioindicator species, so they give us such a great opportunity to raise awareness about that. So we're trying to replant, restore a lot of the riparian vegetation that's been destroyed across Ireland. We were once 80% covered in native forests. We're down to now less than 2%. So that the vegetation really serves as a filtration system for runoff. So by planting those trees, it's actually keeping the sediments and the pollutants out of our waterways and away from our coastal areas. So our habitat restoration project is something that we're doing. It's starting now, and we'll be planting all winter. It's to promote biodiversity, fight climate change, improve water quality, prevent loss of topsoil and coastal erosion, improve air quality, and then of course it gets people out there in nature, appreciating nature and learning all of these amazing services that these ecosystems provide for us for free. So far we have planted I think about 13,000 trees, but we have 20,000 pledged, so we have a lot of work to do. And this is just some of the big messages that we send people about plastics and sustainable fishing, is shifting towards a plant-based diet to reduce your carbon footprint. And then things that you can do more of, which is planting trees, preserving natural areas, going organic, and promoting the protection of our seas. So we currently have less than 2% MPAs in Irish waters, and we need to get up to 30% by 2030. So this is another campaign that we're really in support of. Sorry if I went over, but this is just some ways that people can support us: seal adoptions, sponsoring a tree, becoming a volunteer, coming to visit for the seal feed enrichment experience, memberships, fundraisers, corporate volunteerings, and our education program. We do visit schools, and we do have a virtual education program as well. So yeah, that is me.
Lovely. Thank you, Mel. That's great. If you can stop sharing your screen, that would be great. And I'm going to go straight on to Sarah Greenslade and then Sarah Hodgson, who I think might be our last presenter, although Andy might wish to speak as well. I don't know. Oh, now I've lost everybody. Here we go. Sarah Greenslade, over to you.
Well, hello. I can't follow Mel at the best of times. That was going to be hard work. Bloody hell.
Just go for it. You're great. Do you stop worrying about it? You just go for it.
Well, I'm the Seal Project Brixham. Go on to the next one. This is my survey site. I love this, and this was a beautiful foggy day when you can't do your day job without going for a survey first, and you get there and it's foggy and you can't see your hand in front of your face. I love this picture because behind that is the next picture. Go for it, Sue. That is that's what my seals live with. That's where they choose to haul out. They are a crazy bunch. And ironically, this is Flower, who Sue knows well. She travelled to Padstow last December, and she's a bit of a local celebrity for all the wrong reasons, because she's being hand-fed by a lovely local fisherman who, during COVID, decided that he wanted to make fishing available. You know, he could go fishing and catch his fish, and people could come straight down and get them from the boat. But he then promoted the fact that he was feeding a seal called Bob. Well, this seal isn't called Bob. Bob's called Flower, and so me and him have had words. I think a few other people, including Defra, have had words. And we're not. Oh my God, my computer's just gone. I'm hoping you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
That's okay. My screen decided it had enough. Anyway, we've got a mutual understanding that we both know he shouldn't be doing things, and we both talk. And I think because I'm telling him more about the seals he's seeing, he's now understanding them better. So I don't think we're going to deal with the feeding the same way as we'd like, but I think the message is me explaining the characters, which is kind of what I'm kind of good at getting to grips with. So it's a learning curve for both of us. But yeah, me and this guy are now friends. And this is our winter chaos. we have a very unusual haul out site because it's a marina wave screen. It's the protective barrier around the marina, overlooking one of the busiest fishing ports in the country. These seals choose to haul out here in the winter, and it's absolutely crazy. And this is just one of those few crazy moments. And most of these seals do reappear, and 2 of those are already here. It's a slow winter. I don't know what's going on, but the boys are back in town. These 2 are here, and they have not learned how to chill out yet. They're still playing at being roughy toughies. So yeah, go for it. So we're only a small team. Dear God, I've listened to you guys, and you've got all these millions of volunteers, and we're really just kind of me and a few others. But we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it. We're working hard. We're doing schools. We've done the Dartmouth Food Festival Schools Day, in which we included a Plymouth University student who, poor girl, had to go back to Germany last year. So I only met her literally the day she came to help me after a year of Zoom meetings, and she absolutely loved it. And she was as frightened of a bunch of school kids as I was. So it was a crazy day. But we are doing our best to be very visible, and we are recording ourselves. We're recording all wildlife disturbances, and what we are learning is don't make enemies, make friends. You can be argumentative, you can be difficult, but that doesn't get you anywhere, and that's what we're learning. If we reach out and we all work for the same goal, and just, if we explain the seals and who they are, and what we're doing, it makes hell of a difference. And as a result, we've had a lot more positive feedback in the last few months, and a lot more contact from people, including today. There's been a seal in Dartmouth, and I've had a lot of calls, which I've obviously passed on to Chris Berry and Dan Jarvis for BDLMR. But people phoned me for advice, which I think is amazing. So we might be small, but we're out there. Anyway, I love what I do because I love seal identification more than anything, to be fair. And actually, a year ago, in fact, only months ago, I was asked to do an online web thing for Sue, and I bricked it for 3 months. I made myself ill. Now I can talk for England. So it's all part of loving what you do and loving the fact that you know what you're doing. And we don't have the disturbance issues a lot of you guys have. We don't have the seals a lot of you guys have. We're a small fish kind of thing in this whole big pond, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it. And as a result, we know these seals. Now this, fingers crossed, who you guys know very well, Sue, you know this one. I've seen her today. She's looking molty and skinny, and she's in exactly the same spot. She loves that spot. Why some seals choose to sit in the busiest thoroughfare of the marina and the harbour in our town, I have no idea, but the females love that corner. Carry on. So a few days ago, I got a call to a seal with a rope around its neck in the River Dart in South Devon, and as soon as I got the call, I knew who it was. And I was at work, and there was only so much I could do, but I knew it wasn't worthy. It wasn't a BDLMR call out, because I knew it was an adult seal with an old entanglement. And as it turned out, the guy that called me did go out and get photos. I sat at work and did a little bit of seal stuff and proved that it wasn't. And yeah, so it's all part of the fun and games. And in the same location, we see commons, and I'm seeing increasingly more there, and to the point that the next slide was this morning. I went down, I mentioned to Sue the other day, I thought there was people doing my stuff on the other side of the river, and I actually bumped into those guys, Sue, and they're just down on holiday, and they've been coming down for years. They've sent me loads of photos, and I waved to them this morning. But whilst I was there, I heard a splash, and this was one of the common seals was literally feeding beneath my feet. And so I've worked out who this one is as well, because it's one we've seen before. So, and then Pippi Longstocking is an rescued seal from Cornwall, rescued in December 2019. released in March 2020. We saw her last September and we've seen her since, but that was outside of the river, and she was seen through these photos. Those guys who I was kind of spitting feathers at, they saw her the other day. So that's stuff I've got to send to you, but that's really cool. And we also just want to monitor and protect the few pups we have. We don't have the volume of seals, but we do have a pupping site, and it's had numerous disturbances. So if I could really just put tape around it and close the whole place off, I would. I wish we could do that kind of thing. One day, my thing, seals with bold patches, they're fraudulent. Having watched Tingworth Sammy, who's been a pain in the whatsits between Devon and Dorset, and Easter Bunny, because I watched them so much, I realised that the bold seals that I keep waiting to see come back, they don't. They fill in, and I have to say that's been one hell of a learning curve for me. So I am now looking through my catalogue with renewed eyes. So yeah, so we don't have quite the everything you guys have. But I bet you guys don't have the skeletons we have. I know Sue has skeletons, but we are trying to rival that somewhat. And we have Arthur, and we have Juliet and a couple of others. So so it's all things we use for educational purposes, because Arthur, although he doesn't show it there, has fingernails, well manicured fingernails, I have to say, because I've polished them. And they're very good educational resources to show people that don't pet seals, because they have teeth, which I've brushed and cleaned, and they have sharp nails, which I've manicured and buffed. So, you know, we have to look at all that, and we are doing well. I don't know where the red lines come from all this.
No, I don't know. Sarah, and I'm really sorry. You need to wrap it up, really. I'm ever so sorry. I know you're nearly finished.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Working with lots of partners this year. That's the key, isn't it? Partners.
Yeah. Thank you.
And a bright future, Sarah, for sure. I'm really sorry. It's just that otherwise the other Sarah won't have an opportunity to present. But thank you. And I'm really sorry. I will get better at managing this next year. And then, yeah, I've set a bad precedent. I don't know where the things come from either. Over to you, Sarah Hodgson. Fire away, Anne.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah, work for Dorset Wildlife Trust, and one of the projects I've been involved in since the very beginning is the Dorset Seal Project. Next slide. So just a bit of an introduction about the project and why we started doing it. So we often received reports of seal sightings, both grey seals and common seals in Dorset. But sort of doing a bit of digging around, we realised that nobody had really done much in the way of research on them, and we were quite keen to learn a bit more. So in 2014, we launched our Dorset Seal Project. Now, like some other areas that I've mentioned, we weren't actually aware of any big haul outs which we could go and survey. So what we did is started to record as many sort of ad hoc seal sightings as possible, and encourage members of the public to send us their sightings. With the support and guidance from Sue as well, we also started a Dorset Seal photo ID catalogue to help us understand a bit more about their movements. And this has been invaluable in helping us to understand their behaviour better. And through sort of working with other partners, we know that seals that we've recorded in Dorset have also been spotted in Devon, Cornwall, Hampshire, and even France. Most of the seals that we have in our catalogue have only been recorded here once, but some of them are sort of regular visitors. And alongside all of this work, of course, we have been promoting sort of codes of conduct, raising awareness, and trying to educate people about seals. So as I mentioned, we get sightings of both species, grey seals and common seals. Grey seals have been reported to us from the sort of entire length of the Dorset coast throughout the year. But we still haven't located any regularly used haul outs, apart from the 2 seals in the picture on the top left there, which were spotted using a haul out last year during lockdown. Now, the Dorset coast is fairly accessible, so perhaps we don't have the sort of remote locations that seals tend to prefer to haul out. Common seals are sort of mainly restricted to one area. There have been the occasional sightings of common seals elsewhere in Dorset, but mostly they stay in one site in Poole Harbour, and they're present there all year round. We were aware of a haul out that they were using, so we established some monitoring there using remote cameras, which enables us to collect data without causing any disturbance or impacting on their behaviour. And sort of going forwards, we're hoping that we can use these cameras to help to monitor disturbance as well. As yet, we haven't identified any sort of popping sites for either of those species in Dorset. That's not to say it's not happening. We do know that 2 small common seal pups have been discovered in Poole Harbour on 2 separate years. But we know how mobile seals are, so even at a young age, so we don't know if they've been born here or if they've come from elsewhere. Next slide. And like Dye up in West Norfolk there, despite the lack of haul out, sadly we still see incidents of seal disturbance in Dorset, as these press reports show. So we've got cases there where people were getting too close, trying to take photos, which prevented the young seal in the bottom left being sort of picked up. It was flushed into the sea. It was reported again later on, and it was picked up, but sadly, because of its injuries, excuse me, it didn't survive. The seal in the top left was reported to have been sort of pulled by its flippers. I think there was some sort of well-intentioned reasons for that. They were trying to help it back into the water, but of course we know that's not the best thing. That one has been picked up, and then of course just people generally getting too close, and dogs as well. Just to sort of reassure everyone, the seal in the bottom right there that's being chased by the dog, it did escape into the sea. It didn't sustain any injuries, but we know that not all seals are so lucky. Next slide. So one seal in particular, Sammy presented us with quite a challenge when it appeared on a busy beach in Dorset, just after the first lockdown restrictions were lifted last summer. So it's a young male grey seal, which was in good health, but it was quite habituated. Sadly, it was sort of subjected to some antisocial behaviour, but the seal continued to haul out on a very regular basis for the remainder of the year and into this year as well. So a team of sort of local volunteers set up a seal patrol to try and keep people back, and alongside that there was posters advice in the local press and on social media, but still we saw interactions with the seal and beachgoers and water users. And that sort of sadly seemed to get a bit worse for a time as the seal became more habituated. Earlier this year, the seal did become much more mobile. And sorry, Sarah Greenslade, but it did start travelling down to Devon a bit more. But following his first molt, there's been a significant reduction in this learned behaviour. So hopefully it's something that he's growing out of. Next slide. So what we've been up to this year, we were sort of really pleased to see the new Watching Seals Well guidance launched at Easter. So we've been sort of promoting and spreading these messages far and wide across Dorset through our website, on social media, and in the local press. We've also been distributing the leaflets. So leaflets have gone out to places like the National Trust, the National Coast Watch Institute, harbour masters, local councils, private landowners and coastal visitor centres. As yet, we haven't gone down the route of permanent signage because seals have a habit of just popping up anywhere along the Dorset coast. So we're going with the leaflets for the time being and may sort of reevaluate that if needs be Following the lead of the Seal Research Trust, we've adopted our own seal photo policy, so we no longer share any images of seals looking at the camera, even if they were taken from a distance. And again, just to reassure everybody that all the images that I've used in this presentation today were taken with a super zoom bridge camera, so we didn't cause any disturbance. In the summer, we sort of joined forces with the Birds of Poole Harbour volunteers who carry out the monthly wetland bird survey to trial our first seal census in Poole Harbour. We do have good data from our remote cameras, but they are only monitoring one site, so we wanted to expand the survey area and just see what was happening elsewhere. And we are also training sort of more of our volunteers to be able to help with the seal project, help to raise awareness, promote the watching seals well advice, and to help us with photo ID. And my sort of personal highlight, seal highlight, was spotting this seal. Oh, sorry, seal again. So this is Fiver. This is the very first seal that we added to our photo ID catalogue back in 2014. And we've seen at the same site every year since, including again this year. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing. Andy Ottaway, I'm not quite sure if you wanted to say anything. If you do, you'll have to unmute and interrupt me. I just wanted to say thank you very much for your patience tonight. And obviously, we've all got loads and loads of things to say. We've all been inspired by seals, and aren't they lucky to have us? Incredibly, we seem to rely on a huge number of volunteers who have fantastic skills, knowledge and experience, and our really good groups are using that knowledge, skills and experience. We seem to be providing some useful resources, tools and technology in order to empower not only our volunteers, but also the public to act responsibly, which is great. We seem to be managing people and seals and habitat, which is also quite inspiring. It appears that we need to understand our demographics if we're going to be able to manage people effectively and work with stakeholders and different agencies to work in partnership with them, and that we need to be kind and we need to make friends in these stakeholder organisations in order to win hearts and minds, particularly with children, because it's the children who can convert their parents, and it's also children who are going to do the future generation stuff. We do seem to have issues that are going to get worse cumulatively, but basically as complementary teams working together under the Seal Alliance, sharing our expertise and our knowledge and our experiences and our resources, we can maybe do the David Attenborough quote, which is, working together we can save, well, at least seals, if not the planet. So huge thanks to everyone. Andy, I'm assuming that you don't want to chip in, but on that, I think we will have a lot of comments and stuff in the chat, but I think we should really wrap it up on time. So we will try and respond to the questions in the chat remotely and afterwards. Yes, Andy.
Yeah, I just wanted, I didn't prepare anything to speak, just simply haven't had the time. But if you don't mind, I'll just say something quickly.
Go for it.
Wing it a bit. Well, I've been campaigning to protect marine mammals for some 40 years. And in all that time, primarily on cetaceans, whales and dolphins. I always felt that seals were second-class marine mammals. They didn't enjoy the protection that whales and dolphins do, and yet they suffer from all the same escalating threats and are just as worthy of protection. I've always felt that we shout loudest together. Hence why I proposed the formation of an alliance. And listening to the presentations, I'm very impressed and humbled by the dedication and incredibly hard work to protect seals that's going on. And for that, I'm very, very grateful to you all. It tells me that our seals are in the safest and most inspirational of hands. I do hope that the alliance goes from strength to strength and other working groups become as effective so quickly as this one has done under the expert stewardship of Sue. who I am deeply indebted to. And I hope that this all contributes to a common goal where we see a truly seal-safe environment in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. That was very, very lovely, and I'm glad you chipped in. Okay, I think we're going to say goodnight to everyone, but can we do a virtual? You can put your cameras on, and can we please do a virtual? You can unmute yourselves as well and do a fabulous thank you. Yes, there we go. Cameras on, and thank you to everyone. Seals really are very lucky to have us, and thank you, Andy, for bringing us all together. Well done, and good night.
Good night.
Thank you all so much.
Night,
Night,
night. Thanks for your time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.